Well, first of all, I have lived here. This is the 5th year. And when I moved in, I settled on this little property because, as you can see, it has a very large water catchment system in the front yard. In fact, it is the majority of my front yard. And therefore I could afford the lot. and and I thought it posed a really interesting gardening challenge because I wanted to make a rain garden out of it. I did not, however, at the time, none of us had the manual that the state and the county depended on us to follow at that time, and they didn't want it to be a rain garden. So that was our first discussion: was how do we make this area, the entrance to my front of my house, welcoming and hospitable, when the the actual vision of the whole was for it to be a whole. Is the catchment basin for the everything this side of the street from the top of the hill down. So it involves 3 houses, including mine, and each house has a smaller pond, but I get overflow from everything comes here, plus my own in here. And you can see the grate and that stick in the top, in the middle there. When the water gets to the top, it basically is level, and it goes into that grate and flows out into the street. So, but the whole idea is to catch the silt and not have it end up in the river, and it does do that. When I first moved here and the sites were construction sites, it was overwhelmed and did not work. Just didn't work like it was supposed to. And so the neighbors up from me actually said yes to putting ponds on their property so that they could hold it a little bit before it overwhelmed this one. And as I've said, this neighborhood is full of really lovely and loving people, and we have collaborated on the system so that it actually does what it's supposed to, because we're all responsible and feel responsible ecologically for the French Broad. It's been a time of negotiation. It was hard at the beginning to give up front yard space, but everyone has managed to make it look really lovely, and it's habitat for bees and birds and little critters. So it's been a gradual process. And you can see there are 4 of those 150-gallon tanks, and that's just one. That's just one gutter. This front gutter goes into this system, and one gutter in a 2-inch rain fills 600 gallons of water. And especially in this part of the yard, were from friends, and I learned about how things self-propagate and about invasive plants from some that have just gone crazy, like the daisies here and the campion and the anemone and oregano. Who knew one patch of oregano could become a field in not long? So this year for me it really has been about pulling things. And as soon as the daisies all bloom, I'm going to go down by half, and I'm just giving them to people who want starts, because they are really prolific. So this year, really, I have planted only 2 or 3 ferns, and that's it. It's settled. now in the garden we'll be really looking at how things go together and whether I need to take tall things out and put short things in, that kind of thing. It'll be fun from now on, just refining what's here. But I wanted color, and I have color. And I said I wanted profusion, and I have profusion. So this year, I think, and from now on, it'll be about refining that, because in some places I have too much profusion. And I'll begin to be a little bit more discriminating about what goes where. I had two crazy aunts that I just adored, and they were both cooks and gardeners. So they did both the same way. It was theirs was all about abundance, just in natural things, and just I think I wrote that my family had their hands in the dirt for flowers and food all the time. And those ferns right there are from my Aunt Forney. She had red clay, and she started with one of those. It's a bracken fern, and it gets to be about that tall, and then just spreads out. She loved it because it spread, and she just literally replaced the dirt in her yard by digging one hole, filling that dirt with good dirt, and then moving on. So at the end, she probably had 1,000 of those ferns, and all of us in the family have some in her honor, because she was just spontaneous and loving, and just did things by just sticking them in. I guess that's where I get that, is just try it. If you don't like it, dig it up, put it somewhere else. and so I'm to that point here, is kind of digging some things up and putting them somewhere else. But those ferns will stay because they're my aunt. Beauty, first of all, friendliness toward wildlife and anything that visits, and really building soil and having a space left that's all organic are the reason. Those are kind of the guiding principles of everything I've done since I put the first plant in the ground.